Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 23rd of November, now it's 9:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. According to reports from Russian media outlets, there was no significant changes on any of the sector of the front line. Operational pause mainly is holding all along the line of contact, with two exceptions, which is Kherson direction and the Donetsk sector of the front line. When it comes to Kherson area, Ukrainian forces are continuing their attempts to somehow enlarge their small footholds on the left bank of the Dnieper River, and they have several footholds in Golaya Pristan area, in Oleshki area, right next to this destroyed Antonovsky Bridge and railway bridge, by the way, and of course Krinky, this small village of Krinky that everybody is talking about. During the previous days, we had the reports that Ukrainian forces managed to establish some positions in this forested area right next to Krinky, but according to latest reports, Russian Marines that are operating in this area forced Ukrainian units back into the central part of the Krinky, which is under heavy fire constantly, by the way, of Russian heavy flamethrower systems, TOS-1A Solntsepyok. Many of you are familiar, I guess, with this devastating weapon. Also, by the way, long-range artillery and airstrikes and drones. Basically, Ukrainian forces are trying to find just any place to dig in and stay there. And if in previous weeks, at least nighttime was more or less safe for Ukrainian units, nowadays Russian side did introduce to battlefield new generation of weaponry, drones, for example, that are equipped with night vision equipment. And I did share on my Telegram page these videos when Ukrainian units have been hit during the nighttime while they were trying to cross Dnieper River or improve their positions on the left bank. Basically, left bank of the Dnieper River is a trap, as I said from the very beginning of this Ukrainian activization on this area. It's a trap, by the way, and as long as the Russian defense minister thinks that this trap is working, I guess Kyiv regime will be allowed to send more and more units on the left bank. But once the Russian defense minister will decide that, you know, it's not worth anymore to play this war game, let's say, with opposite side, I guess Russian forces will conduct offensive operation and force all the remnants of Ukrainian units to surrender or to flee to the right bank of Dnieper River. At this point, by the way, and always, situation is under full Russian control. Nothing is happening that can influence this sector in immediate future. When it comes to Donetsk, another hotspot, Donetsk direction, it's of course Avdiivka mainly. Russian forces established full control over according to reports that I see, by the way, Russian forces managed to establish full control over the southern industrial zone in Avdiivka, and are closing into residential areas, although are not entering residential areas yet. And also Russian units from the northern flank are beginning to conduct this reckoning force operations towards northern industrial zone, where Avdiivka's chemical plant is located. Huge industrial zone, but yet again, if you take into account how easy, of course, there is nothing easy when we are talking about line of contact, but if in comparison to some previous battles, how fast, let's say, Russian forces establish control over the industrial zone in the southern flank, I guess very same may be expected in the northern industrial zone direction also. And overall, my take is that Russian side will constantly increase pressure on Ukrainian units in Avdiivka direction, and when in 3, 4, 5 weeks time, when lack of reinforcement, lack of munition any supplies whatsoever, and also winter conditions will severely degrade battle readiness or battle capabilities of Avdiivka garrison. At that point, I guess Russian forces will begin final push to establish control over this city, and I expect that we will see at that point big Ukrainian units on the scale of battalion are lay down arms and surrendering. That's what's gonna happen. So at this point, Avdiivka, of course, plays role of trap, like a small Bakhmut, but overall, end will be very different, because if Bakhmut was almost totally destroyed as a result of fierce fighting, in Avdiivka, we will see different picture. I'm quite sure Russian side will do as best as possible to persuade Ukrainian units, Ukrainian officers in this area to stop fighting for Zelensky and his criminal associates, their Western masters, and to spare their own lives, lives of their comrades, and also city itself, by the way, to make sure that city would not be destroyed as much as Bakhmut, for example. And that's why I'm quite sure we will see in fairly short time, by the way, big Ukrainian units beginning to surrender. And as you all probably know, to somehow influence situation in Avdiivka direction, Kiev regime began local scale offensives in Gorlovka area, in direction of Gorlovka, from New York and other settlements that are still under control of Kiev regime. Some units did begin operating in this sector, but probably they were hoping that Russian side will be forced to withdraw some units from Avdiivka area, but it did not happen. It did not happen, and will not happen, because Russian side has enough reserves to pull in without destruction of current local scale offensives in Avdiivka, or let's say Bakhmut direction, by the way. So Ukrainian side failed in direction of Gorlovka. They will continue this attempt, by the way. I have no doubts about it, but they will fail. And well, I just mentioned Bakhmut, and when it comes to this direction, Russian forces have initiative on in this area also, and on the both flanks of Bakhmut, southern and northern, Russian forces are constantly improving their positions. Although we are not yet talking about some large-scale operation, because I guess Konstantinovka and Chisov Yar will become hotspots on the front line once Russian large-scale decisive offensive operations will begin this upcoming winter. And when it comes to northern sectors of the front line, it's artillery duels between the sides, mainly local scale skirmishes, reckoning force operations. Nothing in the large scale really happening in this area. Russian forces for quite a while are now ready to conduct large-scale offensive operations, and they are basically waiting for a green light from Russian general staff, which will definitely be given in this winter. I'm, let's say, 80% sure about it. That this winter, Russian side will conduct decisive actions. All Russian general staff is waiting now, in my understanding, is to basically do as best as possible to persuade Ukrainian officers and Ukrainian military personnel that continuation of this fight is mistake and tragedy for Ukrainian society and Ukraine, and best they can do is for their own sake and for the society is to stop fighting, because they are not defending Ukrainian society, because Russia is not danger for Ukrainian society. They are fighting on behalf of Western ruling elites and their puppets in Kiev regime. And that's why, by the way, for quite a while now, probably many of you did see also these videos when Russian drones, for example, are dropping not the bombs on positions of Ukrainian forces, but leaflets with calls to lay down arms and surrender, stop fighting for Western geopolitical interests. But anyway, this is it for a short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. With the exception of Kherson and Donetsk directions, operational posts basically are holding all along the line of contact. Well, before I continue with additional news, let me, dear friends, thank all of you for your time, for your attention, for your support. Without your support, without support of members of our community, including with small donations, of course, through PayPal, Buy Me Coffee, or subscriptions on my Patreon page, this project will not exist. So thank you very much. That's been said, let's talk about some additional news. And well, RT is reporting that RT is reporting about article in Die Welt, German newspaper, according to which frontline casualties and the conflict-related immigration are set to decimate the Ukrainian labor force as their takeaway skilled workers and younger replacements. The German newspaper Die Welt reported on Monday Ukraine is having problems drafting new troops to fight Russia and intends to address the problem by widening the scope of conscription and cracking down on draft dodgers. But the country's long-term economic viability is being undermined by the bloodletting on a scope that is hard to estimate, the outlet warned. Well, no surprises here, because if you remember, several weeks ago I did report about statements of former Ukrainian Prime Minister Nazarov, his surname is, if I'm not mistaken, and he was saying that, and he was Prime Minister, by the way, so he should know what he's talking about, and he said that Ukrainian side Kyiv regime exhausted its mobilization capabilities, and only way they can continue this forceful mobilization is to withdraw people from strategic segments of Ukraine's economy, like energy sector, logistical sector, transportation, you know, and so on, and also public services, by the way. And that's what exactly did happen. So this former prime minister was absolutely correct. Kyiv regime continued this forceful mobilization, and as a result, major sectors of Ukraine's economy, and also, by the way, public sector, major sectors in public domain are crumbling now. And yesterday I did saw even video, by the way, that was circulating on internet, that females now are working in the shafts, by the way, to mine coal. So I mean, I guess at this point comments not even needed. If they are sending females in shafts to mine coal, then what we are talking about at this point. So more and more indicators that it's only a matter of time, and Ukraine's logistical segment of economy and the energy sector will begin collapsing. So yes, in this case, Die Welt is correct. Also, by the way, RT is reporting that Moldova has not handed any draft dodger over the Ukraine and has no plans to do so in the future. The country's foreign ministry spokesman Igor Zakharov told Radio Moldova on Wednesday. There is no legal mechanisms to do so, Zakharov explained, since there is not has not been an agreement on the extradition of people of military age between the two countries. And this is also a continuation of previous news about these difficulties that Kyiv regime is experiencing when it comes to further mobilizing people. They did ask its neighbors, Kyiv regime did ask its neighbors and all the Western countries basically to send back military age people to Ukraine. Kyiv regime even did come up with some schemes to artificially create criminal cases against military age people that are refugees in Europe, to prepare base basically for or to give Western states some legal means to deport these people to Kyiv regime. But for this moment, at least, we did not see waves of deportations from European states of this military age Ukrainian refugees, and probably we will not see this wave, at least for some time, because even if Moldova refusing to deport Ukrainian military age refugees, then of course European states will, EU member states will find it even more difficult to do so from legal standpoint and also from moral standpoint, by the way, because after all they still are acting like they have some moral high ground, isn't it? So they have to act accordingly to this legend that they create. Although nobody is believing in any morality of Western ruling elites, but they still are playing this game. Sometime in the future, probably we will see that some military age refugees have been deported under whatever pretext into Ukraine, but at least for now, we have not seen waves of deportation. Although several weeks ago I did report that EU member states are beginning to pay money to Ukrainian refugees if they are willing to go back to Ukraine. They did come up with this idea, although if I'm not mistaken, they are willing to pay some 1,500 euros approximately to Ukrainian refugees who will decide to go back to Ukraine, and I don't think many Ukrainians will choose to take this money, 1,500 euros, go back to Ukraine, then being forcefully mobilized, sent to front, and die there. I don't think it will happen. I don't think this idea of some EU member states will work. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that EU, by the way, to consider Ukraine security pledge, and this was reported on Bloomberg also. So EU has pitched framework of security commitments for Ukraine to its member states, seeking to substantially boost Kyiv's military power and bring it closer to the West. Bloomberg reported on Tuesday. However, several EU states have opposed arms deliveries to the country, while expressing skepticism about accession talks also. Well, of course, we are talking about, first of all, Hungary and Slovakia, who are very skeptical when it comes to arm deliveries, money deliveries to Kyiv regime, and also about talks to begin about Ukraine joining EU. And well, I guess it's not just Slovakia and Hungary, by the way. These countries, leaders of these countries, are openly opposing Brussels ideas, but I guess at this point in many other EU countries, politicians are beginning to at least little bit distance themselves from this full-fledged support, this idea of full-fledged support to Kyiv regime, because they do understand that this battle with Russia, Western ruling elites lost. No matter how long they will prolong this conflict, this battle they already lost. And the longer this conflict will continue, more humiliating this loss will be for Western ruling class and more damaging. So this aspect will also beginning to play in my understanding when it comes to actions and positions of Western ruling elites. Let's continue, and you may find this information very interesting, dear friends. So Ukraine spent nearly half of Washington's aid on US debt bonds. That's quite interesting, isn't it? So Ukraine has significantly boosted its holdings of US government's debt since the start of a conflict with Russia. The news agency RIA Novosti reported on Wednesday, citing data from US Treasury and Ukrainian Finance Ministry. From February 2022 through the end of September of this year, Kyiv's investment in US debt jumped 1.8 times, or by $10.7 billion, according to RIA Novosti. The country's current holdings of $24.5 billion are the highest since at least 2011. So currently, Ukraine has investments in US treasury bonds, foreign debt, 24.5 billion, by the way, which is highest number since 2011. And how you gonna comment this, by the way? US is borrowing money by increasing its debts for its debt ceiling on year by year terms. So US is borrowing money, hundreds of billions every year from internal or foreign investors. Then Washington, Biden's administration, is sending some parts of this money, dozens of billions, by the way, to Ukraine, to Kiev regime. And Kiev, by the way, investing this money in the US debt, some parts of this money in US foreign debt. And just in this year, by the way, just in previous year, sorry, from 2022 to September this year, Ukraine increased its investments in a US foreign debt by 10.7 billion. So is it normal, by the way, that US is borrowing money and pay interests from investors, internals and outsiders, and then from this borrowed money, US is sending some sums into Kiev, and then borrowing back from Kiev this money to pay interest to Kiev also. It's too crazy, isn't it? At one point, US gonna end up in big trouble because they will have no money left to pay interest, by the way, for all the money that they are borrowing worldwide. But I find this news interesting because while Zelensky and his associates constantly are begging for money, everybody in this world, they are managing somehow to invest in US foreign debt. Wow. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Canada's aid to Ukraine to top 800 million US dollars. Yet again, what Ottawa does, man, it's hard to understand. Some 10-15 years ago, and I was quite sure Canada is one of the top countries for living, by standards of living, and Canada was almost never in the news, or at least not for bad reasons. And nowadays, Canada is acting like, I don't know, man. Sometimes Canada's government is acting even more hawkish than US government, which is, I mean, if someone will tell me this 10-15 years ago, I would not believe, but I mean, we can see it right now with our own eyes. But anyway, let me read the information. The Canadian government will devote more than 800 million US dollars to military aid for Ukraine by end of 2023, according to a new budget report. However, the document suggests major cuts to security assistance going forward. Published on Tuesday by Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, the fall economic statement outlines government spending for the next several years, forecasting total of 816 million in military aid for Kiev for the 2023 and 2024 fiscal years. Well, I'm quite sure with this $800 million, many good things could be done for Canadian citizens. I guess Canada has plenty of problems and issues that will be resolved at least partially with these sums, but Trudeau and his associates prioritizing Zelensky and the Kiev regime. Okay. RIA Novosti is reporting, by the way, that President-elect of Argentina, this Javier something. Where is his name, man? Javier Milei. Yes. This individual and his aide did come up with the idea that conference should be held in Argentina about Ukrainian crisis, and they did ask Zelensky to participate and support this idea. Well, as I said in previous updates, by the way, more I read and learn about this Javier Milei, more disappointed I am that Argentinian society made such a decision to support this individual. But it's their decision, you know, and well, good luck to them, man. What else can I say? But I guess, by the way, world leaders will find it difficult to take Argentina under leadership of this individual seriously, and not just world leaders, but maybe even these puppets, by the way, puppet leaders like Zelensky and his type of people will find it difficult to take this Javier Milei seriously, man. Probably even they will find it difficult to take him seriously. So I don't know, will some conference take place in Argentina or not, but it's not really matters, by the way. I'm quite sure Moscow will don't take this one seriously for sure. And without Moscow, any talks about Ukraine is irrelevant. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, according to Scott Ritter, by the way, US military expert and voice of reason that we hear from, so needed voice of reason from US, by the way. Thanks God, there are people, public figures in the US that are true representatives of US society and are, playing this role of voice of reason, because otherwise, without these people, by the way, world will probably think that everyone is gone mad in US. But no, man, US society is waking up, and they are people like Scott Ritter and many others that are, almost always right, by the way. You know, that's why they are called voice of reason. And Scott Ritter had an interview with Clayton Morris, and during this interview he was asked about negotiations, possibilities of peace talks between Kiev and Moscow, and he said that they will be. It's my interpretation, by the way. There can be no peace negotiations. What will take place is that Russia will come up with ultimatum, and Kiev regime and the Western major capitals will be basically forced to work with this ultimatum, because some time ago, especially in March, April, by the way, of 2022, of course, there was a window of opportunity to achieve, to conduct peace talks and achieve some agreements, but not now. Not now. After so many casualties, after so many damage that was done, I don't think Moscow will choose any other language other than ultimatum. So I do agree with Scott Ritter that Moscow will talk with the Kiev regime and Western masters of Kiev regime with language of ultimatum. Absolutely. And Moscow definitely is in position to speak that language. And you know my take on Ukrainian crisis, by the way. I'm 99% sure that once this conflict will end, entire Ukraine, with the exception of western regions, will be under Russian control, and western regions of Ukraine will end up under control of NATO or western neighbors of Ukraine, namely Poland, Hungary, Romania, and possibly Slovakia. That's it. Let's continue. And next news is also interesting, dear friends. RIA Novosti is reporting that, according to statements from Kiev, they did reach agreement with the government of Netherlands that Scythian gold, by the way, Scythian gold will be returned to Ukraine instead of museums of Crimea, to whom this Scythian gold belongs. There was exhibitions, by the way, worldwide when Scythian gold was represented, and when conflict began, this European side refused to return Scythian gold to its museums in Crimea. And well, Kiev demands that this treasury is a part of Ukrainian heritage and supposed to be in Ukraine, which is false, by the way. This is Scythians have nothing to do, and any artifacts related to Scythians, Scytho-Sarmatians have nothing to do with Ukraine, with Ukrainians, by the way. After all, maybe Zelensky and his associates, they are too dumb to know that Ukrainians are Slavs mainly. And Scythians were not Slavs. They were Iranian-speaking people from Middle East. Scythians, Sarmatians, Alans, by the way, they were Iranian-speaking people. And at some point in history, long time ago, by the way, we are talking about 2.5 thousand years ago, Scythia was established. Scythian Empire, let's say, was established on territories of modern Russia and Ukraine, and also Central European states, some of them, southern parts of modern Russia and Ukraine, including Crimea, by the way, which is of course part of Russia now, but at those times was under control of Scythians, and of course many of you are familiar with this history of Scythians, Scytho-Sarmatian civilization, and this gold, and the only people, by the way, that can be called direct descendants of Scytho-Sarmatians and Alans are Ossetians. And where Ossetians live now? In North Ossetia, in South Ossetia and North Ossetia. And North Ossetia, by the way, is a part of Russia. So if any people can have any, if this Scythian goes to belong to someone, if any people can say that it's their historical heritage, it's Ossetians, by the way, modern Ossetians, that maintain their culture, maintain their language. They speak language of Sarmatians, by the way. If you want to learn Sarmatian, and Sarmatians and Scythians, by the way, they spoke similar languages. It's an Iranian language family, and if you want to hear that language, you have to go to Northern Ossetia or Southern Ossetia to hear that language. And some Ukrainians, by the way, even so-called historians are claiming that they are descendants of Scythians and Sarmatians, and I mean, that's a level of degradation, by the way, in Ukraine, under leadership of these crazies, especially since 2014. So Netherlands will make a big mistake if they will send Scythian gold to Kiev regime, because this gold belongs to Russia, because North Ossetia is in Russia, and Ossetians are only direct descendants of, as a people, by the way, only direct descendants from Scythian, Scytho-Sarmatian civilization. That's my take on this topic, and this gold definitely belongs to Russia, because Ossetia is a part of Russia. North Ossetia is a part of Russia. No other people can have any claim on this gold, man. None. Because they have nothing to do with Scythians. That's it. And there is, by the way, in Hungary, by the way, they are small minority. They called us, Asi. But unfortunately, and they are descendants of Scytho-Sarmatians, by the way, also. but they lost the language. They lost their, this historical memory, somewhat this, some cultural elements, traditions of their ancestors. And all they remember at this point that they are descendants of Skytho-Sarmatians, and that's it. And many people from Hungary, from this minority that called Asi, are traveling to North Ossetia to learn some more about their history and history of their, ancestry, and to learn the language. But yet again, if we are talking about people that maintain its culture, its traditions, language, and are direct descendants of Skytho-Sarmatians, it's only Ossetians, by the way. No other people can have any claim on Scythian gold. That's it. And because North Ossetia is a part of Russia, of course Scythian gold had to be in Russia. And because Crimean museums were holding expositions of Scythian gold, and Crimea was a part of Skytho-Sarmatian civilization and empire, okay, they should supposed to be in Crimea. Return this gold to Crimea, by the way. That's how it's supposed to be. But anyway, I don't think, by the way, that current leadership of Netherlands did read any, even single book about history. I don't think they have any idea who Scythians, Sarmatians, Alans were, or who modern Ossetians are. Anyway, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting, and now next big topic, of course, escalation in Middle East. And TASS news agency is reporting that, Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, did make a statement that after a short ceasefire, which was achieved between Israel and Palestine, hostilities will be resumed and the Israeli army will continue its military operation. Unsurprisingly, none of us are surprised, I guess, to hear this information. RIA Novosti is also reporting that according to this deal that was reached between Israel and Palestine, for every 10 refugees, not refugees, but for every 10 hostages that will be released by Hamas, ceasefire will be prolonged for 24 hours, according to negotiations between the sides. But Israel had a demand that ceasefire cannot be prolonged more than 10 days, which is a very strange demand, really. But that's what is reported by media, and I'm afraid once hostages will be freed, hostilities will continue in the Middle East, and even during the so-called ceasefire, I guess there will be some hostilities, and some channels are reporting, by the way, that if in Gaza Strip there will be some decrease in activity, in military activity, Israeli forces are increasing their military presence and activity in the West Bank. So, situation is still very tense and dramatic. TASS news agency is reporting that Erdogan, by the way, Erdogan is very active these days and constantly in the media. And, this time Erdogan did made statement, according to TASS news agency, that Netanyahu fairly soon will pack up his bags and will move and will be removed from office and will flee office and maybe even Israel. That was said by Erdogan. I don't know on what his statement is based. Maybe he has some intelligence that Erdogan is losing support of major decision makers. Maybe that's the case. Let's see. By the way, if Erdogan will leave office, I guess chances for a long peace or permanent peace between Israel and Palestine will increase, I guess, because Erdogan and his associates, they are on extreme right, by the way. They are not just on the right when it comes to ideology, but they are on extreme right. And anybody else, by the way, will be, better than these ones. Anybody will be better than these ones, I guess. But yet again, at this point, I don't really see any indicators that Netanyahu is about to lost office. But who knows? Who knows? Let's see. RT is reporting, by the way, that South African lawmakers vote to cut ties with Israel, diplomatic ties with Israel, in response to ongoing hostilities in Gaza. South African lawmakers have endorsed a motion to shut down the Israeli embassy and terminate diplomatic relations until Israel commits to a ceasefire. The resolution put forward by the opposition party Economic Freedom Fighters received a majority vote of 248 during a parliamentary session on Tuesday, with 91 MPs voting against it. Well, South Africa is a major player on the world scale, of course, and any decision made in South Africa is important, undoubtedly. And well, I'm skeptical that South Africa will cut its ties, diplomatic ties with Israel, but this is a strong message, by the way. This is definitely strong message, and Israel does receive these strong messages from all around the world, because world wants to see these hostilities end and some peaceful talks to begin. RT is reporting that Israel warns UN of regional war. Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen has warned the UN that Middle East could descend into full-scale war if Hezbollah militants remains in the southern Lebanon near the border with Israel. Local media have reported, well, this is interesting, of course, because where Hezbollah should go. They are a deterrence force in Lebanon. Hezbollah is a force, by the way, that basically ended Israeli occupation. Many of you, of course, remember that significant parts of southern Lebanon was occupied by Israel. And that's why Hezbollah was created as a resistance force, because of this occupation. And Hezbollah did become powerful enough at some point that basically forces Israel to withdraw its troops in... I may be mistaken, by the way, but last Israeli troops withdraw from southern Lebanon in 2002. Not so long ago, just a few decades ago, by the way. Well, this statement is quite interesting because yet again, where Hezbollah should go from southern Lebanon? They are mainly based in southern Lebanon. So maybe this statement was made to prepare ground for further escalation and to justify then military actions against Lebanon and Hezbollah. Who knows? But that's a possibility that, after some time, Netanyahu's government will come up and say that, what, we warned that if Hezbollah will not leave southern Lebanon, then escalation may happen, and then look at it now, It's not us, it's them. They did not move away from southern Lebanon. But yet again, where should Hezbollah go? So this is a worrisome development, by the way, worrisome development, because if you take a look at the map, you may, if you're not familiar with geography, you may think that this is the main area of hostilities. Where when Gaza Strip is here, by the way, this is Gaza Strip, and this is borderline between Israel and Lebanon, and just look at it on this. Each of these dot is military hostilities between the sides. So, I mean, one can hope that there will be no full-scale escalation between Israel and Hezbollah, but I don't know, man. Anything is possible. Let's continue, and well, this is also quite interesting. RT is reporting that, well, two members of the US House of Representatives wrote to the head of the National Security Agency on Tuesday with the questions about the recently leaked diversity documents which was filled with critical race theory terms such as white privilege and social justice. Well, US is in turbulent place, by the way, very turbulent place, because every topic in US somehow is becoming associated with some race, some social justice, political correctness, and so on. Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. US has, of course, US has a difficult history, but every country has difficult history, by the way, and you cannot be hostage of history, by the way, of your country, because current US citizens have nothing to do with no slavery, no all bad stuff, not genocide of Indian people, by the way, real locals in North America. Modern Americans have nothing to do with it. And why these small groups of extremists are basically allowed to create these divisions between the citizens of US based on some past, I don't know. Every country has difficult history, by the way, isn't it? And some episodes that are, not nice and are shameful. Every single country has such episodes, by the way. US is not unique in this sense, and I truly don't understand why these small groups of so-called neoliberal extremists are allowed to impose their will and their ideology on entire state, and therefore why they therefore create tensions between the different races, different ethnic groups or religious groups and so on. I don't know, man. But well, something is really wrong in US because all this stuff is, happening. Anyway, let's continue. In the Netherlands, by the way, there was parliamentary elections, and according to preliminary data, right-wing parties are dominating, and probably they will receive majority of votes. And if that's the case, then well, we may see change of government in Netherlands, which was expected by many, but let's see what final results will be. I will translate this episode here, several sentences, if I may. So Geert Wilders' Freedom Party is leading in the parliamentary elections in the Netherlands, according to Ipsos exit polls. According to them, Wilders' far-right party wins 35 seats. In second place is the Alliance of Greens and Labour, led by the only left-wing candidate Frans Timmermans. It has 26 seats. The top three also includes Free right-wing Liberal People's Party for Freedom and Democracy, led by current Minister of Justice and Security Dylan Shilgoz Zeguris, which has 23 seats. The Center Party, New Social Contract, led by Peter Omtzig, wins 20 seats. So it's nothing yet. It's not yet finalized, but I mean, I'm not familiar with Netherlands' internal policies, and I have no idea what parties these are and what positions they have. But there were reports previously in media that current prime minister will probably be removed from office and after elections, and Netherlands will have new government and new majority in parliament, which may be helpful for Netherlands, by the way. Anyway, let's continue. Prime Minister of Norway did spoke about this crisis, border crisis between Finland and Russia, and he said that maybe border crossing between Russia and Norway may be also closed if necessary. Yet again, I don't think border crossings are good way to deal with any issues, really, but it's their sovereign right, by the way. And I remind you, dear friends, that between Russia and Finland, this border crossing, this border escalation began when citizens of third countries began using Russia as a transit state to enter EU member states, and some of them went towards Finnish border and are trying to cross to enter EU through Finland. And what can Russia do in this case, by the way? These people have Russian visas, they are entering Russia legally, and Russia cannot control all tourists, isn't it? All foreigners that are entering Russia. It's impossible to monitor everybody constantly. It's not happening. And some of these people are, moving northwards and are trying to enter Finland. And Helsinki didn't come up with any other decision other than shut down border crossings. And now Norway probably will do the same. Although Russia had many border crossings with Finland, but with Norway only one. Anyway, let's continue. I have no idea, by the way. If you ask me how should Finland deal with this issue, I don't know, man. So there is no easy solutions in this case, because Russia definitely cannot close its borders to citizens of third countries that are using Russia as a transit state. And same time, Finland has every right to, do whatever it wants on its own territory. And well, if they want to shut down borders, okay, but same time they are damaging relationships with Russia even further. So I mean, I don't know, man. Some other ways should be founded. These people are refugees, by the way. I guess they are from countries that were destroyed by Western states, by NATO member states, and Finland is a part of NATO now. And you know what? Bear responsibility. Just bear responsibility and receive these people and treat them well, because it's because of actions of you and your strategic partners that these people lost their livelihoods in their countries and they were forced to flee. So just bear responsibilities, man. That's it. What else can be done? I don't know. Anyway, let's continue. Let's continue. And this is also interesting, dear friends. This is also interesting. Speaker of Armenian Parliament, Alen Simonyan, said that he will not attend the meeting of the Collective Security Treaty Organization in December. In the current situation, my participation is inappropriate, he told the reporters, adding that he had already informed his colleagues about this decision. Well, yet another move of Yerevan, current government of Armenia, to escalate with Moscow, with CSTO countries. Not surprisingly, a few days ago, by the way, some media outlets even began to share information that Armenia sent some ballistic missiles to Ukraine. I did not find any concrete proof of this information, but because some media outlet did write about it, that itself indicates level of degradation of relationships between Yerevan and Moscow, isn't it? That some media outlets even did not even ask twice when they see these reports. That was probably mistake, and they did publish it. They publish it. I did not write, I did not say nothing about it, because I was looking for information, because for me it was just too much at this point. At least I was thinking, no man, I mean it's really too much. Armenia don't send no weapons to Kiev regime, especially ballistic missiles, .U ballistic missiles. And that's why I did not say nothing about this topic, but some media outlets did write about it, and they were mistaken at this point, I guess, because I see no confirmation for this. But yet again, level of that degradation of relationships between the Moscow and Yerevan is so high that, as I said, man, some media outlets did not even question these reports that Armenia sent ballistic missiles to Ukraine, and published this information exactly because of this extreme deterioration in relationships. And well, it's sad. It's sad, really. I don't understand in which direction Armenia is moving, but I don't know, man. Armenian society has a problem in its hands, and they have to definitely think very, very seriously in which direction their country have been led by this current government, because eventually they may end up in a place which will not please Armenian society. They are such risks, isn't it? But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Russian economic growth could exceed expectations, according to Russian finance minister Anton Silvanov, who said that, well, according to him, the growth of the country's gross domestic product could reach 3% by end of the year due to responsible economic policy and the strong domestic demand. Well, there was times when I was very critical of economical bloc, by the way, of Russian government before special military operation began. But since special military operation began, and when I increased my attention towards economical developments and decisions that economical bloc is making, and when we all see, by the way, that Russian economy did withstand this immense pressure from the West, well, I did begin realizing that, well, decisions that by Russian economical bloc was made years ago, they did work. Finally, those decisions did work and allowed Russian economy to gain its strength and withstand pressure. This immense pressure from the Western ruling elites, and now I'm significantly less critical of economical bloc. I have to say, still, in my understanding, they did make mistake when did not push for a strong ruble. There was opportunity, and still are opportunity for this to create strong ruble, but yet again, I'm not financial expert, and my understanding probably are mistaken when it comes to these issues of finances and economy and stuff. But well, great news from Silvanov about GDP growth. 3% is truly good result for most sanctioned country in the world. And same time, well, I have to agree with him that yes, decisions of economical bloc, central bank, finance ministry, Ministry of Economical Developments, definitely did play a huge role to stabilize economy and to withstand the pressure from the West. Anyway, but still, by the way, still I'm quite sure strong ruble, there is opportunity to achieve a strong ruble. And if Russia will sell everything, for example, if Russia will export everything for rubles, I guess Russian ruble exchange rate will be like 35 rubles for $1, and it will benefit in long run. It will benefit country and society much more than current policy. But yet again, I am not finance expert and I may be mistaken. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that Moskvich, a car maker, by the way, Soviet era brand in car making, plans to build about 50,000 new cars in 2024. I remind you, dear friends, that Moskvich was reborn, let's say, this brand after Renault, French corporation, car manufacturer Renault left Russia, and factories of Renault in Moscow was sold by Renault on the symbolic price to Moscow's government, and the Moscow government did find investors, did find other car manufacturers who will participate this factory to continue its work, and Moskvich brand was reborn, and they are producing cars, by the way. They already are producing 3 models of cars, which is great. Why not? Which is great. These cars are mainly Chinese cars that have been assembled in Moscow, in Moskvich factory. But still, I mean, factory is working, people are working and have wages. Cars have been produced. All this stuff is good for economy, so great. Great, and at some point, maybe Moskvich will begin producing some its own unique design cars. But now, at this point, as I understand, they are building Chinese cars under license or together with Chinese companies. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Russia-China trade to hit 300 billion. So the volume of trade between Russia and China continues to grow and is expected to reach 300 billion by the end of this decade, Russian First Deputy Prime Minister Andrei Belosov has said. Speaking at a meeting of the Russia-China Intergovernmental Commission in Beijing this week, Belosov said China has long been among Russia's major trade partners and that the scope of investment opportunities for two countries is expanding. Well, I guess yet again, by the way, I mean, representatives of Russian economical bloc, they are usually quite conservative in their estimations, and I will say Belosov is also quite conservative by saying that 300 billion in trade between Russia and China will be reached by end of this decade. I guess Russia-China trade will reach 300 billion in next 2-3 years. Maximum 2-3 years, and trade between Russia and China will exceed 300 billions. And mark my words, by the way, it will happen. It will definitely happen, especially now when many Western companies are basically forced to flee Russian market. leave Russian market. So Chinese companies have huge opportunity to establish themselves on this quite a big market, by the way, in Russia, and important market. And trade will only increase. Trading will only increase, and you know, and Russian companies have opportunity to establish themselves in China, because many Russian companies previously were oriented on Europe, by the way. And now, when there are so much difficulties between EU and Russia, these companies also are forced to, you know, redirect their attention to other places in this world, and China is number one, of course, being right next to Russia. And this is gonna be last news for today's update. Hopefully you will find this video interesting, and if so, please, dear friends, consider to click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like, just about anything, and if you can, please share links to my videos with your friends on Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and any other platform that you are active on. That will significantly increase my chances to reach wider audience. And dear friends, if you think this project with several channels, including this one, are interesting, informative, has some potential and deserves to exist, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.